Okay, welcome everyone to today's webinar, What's New in Opsgenie? I'm Sean Penny, and I'm happy to be joined by Kate Clavitt. Kate, how are you?
Good, thanks. You?
Doing well. So a little bit of housekeeping as we jump into the webinar today. If you do have a question, you can ask it in the GoToWebinar panel at any time. We answer questions typically throughout, and any question that you ask, if we don't get to it live on the air, whether it's too long or too complicated for an answer in a webinar format, we'll definitely take it offline and follow up offline. So all questions will be answered. We won't leave anyone hanging in that regard. And also this webinar is being recorded, and we're going to email to you probably by tomorrow afternoon at the latest. So don't feel you have to scribble down notes if you don't want to. Looking at the agenda, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to spend most of our time today diving into a demo of a few of the newer features that have launched in the last couple of months, some of the new exciting enhancements that we have for you. And before we do that, we want to talk a little bit about Atlassian and Opsgenie's incident management approach. And as I said, at the end, we'll have plenty of time for some next steps, some additional resources that you all might find useful. And then, of course, we'll answer any questions that we can before we wrap up. So the incident management approach. So as we dive in, to kind of set context, I know everyone's coming at this from varying levels of knowledge and understanding, but basically, if you think back before incidents and you think about just alerting and on-call management, Opsgenie was founded on the premise of IT and dev stacks becoming very complicated or more complicated, hybrid systems moving to the cloud, et cetera. And everyone was putting in place monitoring tools to keep track of all this and ensure that the continuous delivery and the rapid deployment of code was working. Datadog, New Relic, et cetera. And those tools are all great. And as you've heard us say before, the only problem is if you just plug in a bunch of tools, it can create a lot of noise or create a lot of alerts that you have to deal with. Enter Opsgenie. We've gotten really good over the last few years of the basics of alerting and on-call management. And I assume that many of you are here today for those, the standard alerting and on-call management playbook. So a really strong rules engine at the center. So really being able to set up on-call schedules, routing rules, escalation policies that really work. And also being able to consolidate alerts, not just from the Datadogs and New Relics of the world, but from chat ops tools using ticketing systems, ITSM, et cetera. And then also reporting on the back end, on-call analytics, postmortems that we're going to talk about in detail. Kate's going to show you, post-incident analysis, all the different things you can do to report out and improve your processes over time as incidents and alerts pile up. And one of the things we've learned over the years at Opsgenie is that alerts are often the symptom of a larger problem or an incident with one of your services. For example, at Opsgenie, we use Twilio to help power our incident command center. If that service went down, our feature's down, and then our customers, everyone on the line today, suffers. And if you think of that from that perspective, if you think of incidents from that perspective, you're thinking about downtime that's associated with incidents, and it's huge. It's estimated to cost global businesses over $1 trillion a year, billions of dollars per day. And while those numbers are large, you also have to think about kind of the personal impact of incidents. So we've gone from a world where off the shelf was good enough, right? Everyone was used to just buying things in stores. And now where self-expression matters, customization is expected by customers, both in their personal lives and in their dealings on the B2B side. We've gone from shops being open 9 to 5 to shopping from our living rooms on Amazon 24/7 a day, 24/7. And if those services are down, you're kind of incredulous. You expect them to be up at all times. So that carries over to the business side as well, where companies, in the past, companies valued standardization and kind of efficiency and kind of everyone hiring like kind of just cogs in a wheel, versus today where to get ahead, you kind of have to be very creative, innovative, and diversity is celebrated in all of that. So to get there, at Atlassian, we feel companies need to transform their processes and their business models and the way their teams work. And IT is central to that and central to the digital transformation that we're trying to lead the charge on. And if you think about it, there's a few teams, of course, that you think about, which the teams we really care about, dev teams and IT teams, but really it expands beyond that to all teams. All teams at your company have a place in this transformation and ensuring that incidents are handled consistently and cleanly from communication to customers and communication across teams internally. IT teams need to be able to partner with development teams to deploy and operate the software that the customers are demanding, and in the end goal of being more agile and collaborative. In the past, you might have development teams on one side of the fence and IT operations on the other side. And a lot of times it was very difficult for those teams to potentially work together. Well, incident management at the level that we're talking about it, and we're trying to build products and services for our customers at Atlassian and Opsgenie, like, really requires these teams to really work together. So deeply integrated and building trust with every incident. And that's a key theme for what we're talking about today. We're going to focus a lot on Opsgenie, but we're also going to touch upon status page when we talk about external services and enabling organizations to build trust with every incident, using it as an opportunity to really reach out to customers and show them, wow, this is customized to me. I'm getting the same information that's available to the developers, and we're all on the same page. And then, of course, if you're a Jira or a Jira Service Desk customer, being able to follow up on tasks and ensure underlying issues are addressed, whether an alert comes in created off a Jira ticket, or an angry customer calls into a support line and that JSD ticket turns into an Opsgenie alert. Those deep integrations are really what makes it all possible. So incident management, there's kind of like 4 buckets that we think about. Responding to alerts, that's kind of the core value prop on the Opsgenie side. Resolving, being able to collaborate across teams, the deep integrations that I was talking about. Communicating, building trust, and communicating like through status page is a great example of that, and using the status page Opsgenie integration. And learning, postmortem reports is an example of this that we're going to talk about, and being able to improve your entire process as you go. So with that in mind, we want to dive into 4 key new feature enhancements that have launched in the last several months at Opsgenie. First one we're going to look at left to right is external services. Like I just talked about, Kate's going to talk us through that. And then I'm going to demo a basic setup of Opsgenie actions. This is a really cool way that you guys can start taking remedial tasks, things that you just have to always do, alerts that come in, and just automate them directly from inside Opsgenie. And we'll also look at incident timeline, which is what I kind of frame as one view of the truth. So every detail of an incident's lifecycle, no matter when you join, you get a good view. And then finally, Kate's going to finish up with postmortems and give us a good detail of the first iteration of that product as it continues on. Great. So let's take a look. So I'm going to share. I'm going to make Kate. I'm going to give you the presenter controls here.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll dive in.
Okay, ignore my messy desktop. Let's get to it. External services are included in our enterprise plan, so that's something that you want to note. And essentially, thanks to our seamless integration with status page, you're able to receive an alert as soon as a service that you follow is degraded. So let's talk about how that works. Within services from Opsgenie, you can also access these through your teams. I'm just accessing from the side menu the main services tab. All you need to do is click Add Service and select External Service. So an external service is any service that has a public-facing status page through status page, if that makes sense. Too many status pages in one sentence. But if they're using the status page product, you'll be able to find their status page here if it's external facing. So for example, let's look up Twilio. And you have Twilio and Twilio Sandbox as a choice. And you do have the opportunity to filter it into specific components. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to leave all of the components selected. Click Next. And then you can personalize the service name for your team. So say you use Twilio only for internal conferencing. It's kind of random, but we'll just say that for the sake of description. And then you can describe the product, describe the service, and then add tags based on if this is internal only, perhaps you want an internal tag, but you might want to spell it wrong correctly. And then you can also do external facing, if you think that if there's an issue with this service, it's always going to be critical, you can add critical as a tag. Then you have the option to change the visibility, either private to your team or public to the organization. I'm going to leave this one private to the team. And then you want to select an owner team. So the owner team is the team that will receive alerts related to any disruptions in this service, and click Add. So from then on, you can filter using the side menu here, all services, public, private, external. For the sake of brevity, I'll go to external. We've only just added Twilio, so that's all that there is at this moment. Click on Edit. And once you're inside, you have the opportunity to really personalize this. Priority mapping is something you're probably going to want to pay attention to. For the most part, if there is scheduled maintenance, as you can see here, if status page incident has maintenance status, the corresponding alert will have priority P5. So it will only be an informational alert. You also have the opportunity to further add tags here and really personalize how you'd like the priority mapping to work for the alerts. If you make a change, click Update. You also still have the opportunity to personalize those components, like I showed you earlier when we were adding the service. You can select stakeholders. Perhaps there's a stakeholder that's outside of your team, and then you can filter the users based on various conditions. So there's a lot of different options that you have here. And the key to this is that, there's a lot of external services that many of us use. So we can add another service. Shopify also has a public status page. And we'll add that too. And then if you go back into your main services dashboard and select external services, you can see here that these are all operating just fine. If you go to all services, you'll notice that some of them have the incident tag there, or excuse me, the incident label, and you can see that there's something happening with those. So you can really keep track of all of your services at a glance, but it makes it a lot easier for you to keep track. And then let's go to the alerts dashboard and I'll show you. You'll have various alerts. Let's look for Twilio alerts. You'll be able to see alerts that have been sent through these integrations. So this is a P5 informational, just letting me know that there's a service interruption. All have come from Twilio thanks to the external services status page integration. So it really enables your team. This is more on the incident management side of things, as Sean was talking about. It really enables your teams to stay ahead of incidents because they're going to get an alert as soon as something's wrong with an external service, whether or not your service that you're providing is affected just yet. So this allows you to really act and stay ahead and aware of incidents before they happen or as they're happening, so that you can be better prepared to resolve it faster and increase your uptime. So that's really how this particular feature fits into the incident management aspect of Opsgenie. So that concludes the external services demo. Should I send it back to you, Sean, for the rest?
Yes, that'd be great. You can send it back to me. We can jump into actions. And a couple clarifying questions too. You mentioned this up front, but just in case a couple people join late.
Sure.
External services is enterprise feature, is an enterprise feature, correct?
Yes, that's right.
That's right. So if you don't see it in your current setup, that what Kate was just walking through, you can reach out to, and I should say this for all of the features we're showing today. If you don't see it in your current Opsgenie account as we're walking through it, or your screen looks different, you can reach out to customer success, or if you have an account rep you're working with, and they can help you get it turned on.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so let's see. All right, let's show my screen here. Let's go back into Opsgenie. Pass it over here. Okay, you can see my screen, Kate, there.
Yes, your screen looks good.
Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about Opsgenie Actions next. And Opsgenie Actions, from From the main screen, if your standard, actually I should say for Opsgenie Actions, currently it's in beta. So if you want to be added to the beta is almost up in the next couple of weeks. This is going to be going to general availability for standard and enterprise users. So there still is some time. If you want to bang on it, you can reach out to customer success like I just mentioned. But like most things in Opsgenie, actions happen and are created at the team level. So if I go into my team page here, and I'm going to go into my OG platform team, and then you're going to see under under your team that you're in, a new tab or a new category called actions. If I click in here, this brings me to the action channel area and the manage actions that I've created. And basically what you can go in to do to set this up is if you click add action channel, you can give it a name. I'll just call this webinar to keep it simple. And then you can select the type of action you're going to set up. So at this point in time, there's 3 different types of actions that you can set up with Opsgenie. We've got a really nice integration with AWS Systems Manager if you're a customer there and using any of their playbooks and documents, which is what we're going to talk about today on the example demo. There's also a REST endpoint, which is really flexible. That's where you can get into some really customized and cool stuff with, with integrating with Jira tickets and things like that, which I actually, we hosted a webinar a couple of weeks ago and we have got a video recording of that in the notes of this webinar. So if you want more detail on the REST endpoint and how to really customize that, we can share that with you after the fact. And also AWS SNS is the newest channel that you can integrate with. So we're going to select, for this example, we're going to select Systems Manager, and then a new window pops up and asks you for a bit more information to connect your account, kind of set up that API connection. So I'll put in my account ID. You have to select your region. So you kind of have to make sure you know your region. I know that I'm Northern Virginia, and then I can give this a name. I'll call it webinar demo. And then basically you can go in here, and this will go to CloudFormation and help you set up a CloudFormation template. And we'll just walk through this live, and hopefully Amazon works. It looks like it's working right now. So you give it a stack name, and you check this little checkbox to confirm the IAM resources and create stack. Oh, already exists. Sean, you should have known that. You change the name and you add a 6 next to it. Let's see if that changes it. There we go. All right, so that's created. So now if I go back to Opsgenie and I click create, I've now connected Opsgenie to the AWS Systems Manager channel, basically. So those 2 systems can talk to one another. The next step is to come down here and set up the actual action. So if you're a Systems Manager user, you know that there's like a long documentation list of a lot of different actions that you can take through AWS Systems Manager. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about EC2 alerts and show you how you can put a button on an alert that says a CloudWatch alert that tells us that an EC2 instance has stopped running. And we can basically put a button right in Opsgenie to say, restart that instance, saving you a trip into the AWS console to do it that way. So we'll click add action. We'll give it a name. So this is an important field. Excuse me. Whatever you put in this field is what appears on the actual alert dropdown, which I'll show you. So you want to be very specific. Start EC2 with prompt. This is a Systems Manager action, and we want to use that channel that I just set up in the previous step. And Opsgenie is going to automatically pull in right here all the different documentation playbooks, all the different cool things you can do on there. And in this case, we were looking for AWS start EC2 instance. That's the playbook that we want. Below, you can manage the permissions. So I can say I want all users, or I want to select users if I only want certain people on the team. Kevin, if I want Kevin to be able to do it only, but I'm going to leave this open for all users on the team. And also this enable action policies button is already checked. So basically what that will do, I'll show you this after the fact. If you are 100% certain that you want Opsgenie to just automate and restart an EC2 instance every single time without any human interaction whatsoever, you would leave that button checked. I'm going to uncheck it for now, and then I'll show you why, because it gives you a little bit more detail. So we'll go to the next step, and this is where you set up the parameters. So basically, those are the values, as it says right there, the values that are passed to the third-party script when the action is executed. So the instance ID that's a string list. You can put any value in here. One cool thing that a lot of customers that are using this do is if you put curly braces, you can automatically pull in this instance ID right into the description field. So you'll see this when the alert comes through. The instance ID will be right up there front and center, so I'll know which EC2 instance needs to be restarted. This one also has a predefined automation assume role. I'm just going to leave that as is, and I'm going to click create. And that's it. So the action is set up. Now, the key piece, well, actually, before we go back to AWS, the key piece now is to say, okay, what if an EC2 instance stopped? I need to have an integration set up to get that alert into Opsgenie. So an easy way to do that is just to use the CloudWatch Events integration. So you can search for CloudWatch Events and set that up, just like you would set up any other integration in Opsgenie. I've already got one set up here, but I'll show you the two fields that you need to care about. So if you come into the advanced settings on your CloudWatch integration and you scroll down here, actions. So this is where I can type in anything I want, and I want to type in exactly what I named that action I created in the previous step. That's why the naming is so important. So start EC2 with prompt, and I want to add this field in the curly braces, the instance ID. So that tells it to pull that instance ID right into that description field for me, and I'll click Save Integration. So now, the moment of truth, if I come to my EC2 instance, I should be able to stop it. Let's try to do this live, see if it works. So I should stop that, and if you come back to Opsgenie, it does take a minute, but I should start getting alerts that it's pending stopping and it's stopping, and then we can see what that looks like. Okay, there we go. So there's an alert that says the OG platform team, CloudWatch events, there's my instance ID is stopping. And this may take a minute or two. You can see another one that I've already done previously down here. It's stopped, and this is what you see. And now we've got that nice Start EC2 with prompt button right on the alert, and my responder can go in there right from Opsgenie or the Opsgenie mobile app. You have to set this up on the desktop, but you can use it on your mobile phone. It works great. I can click Start EC2 with prompt. It gives me it tells me exactly what it's starting, and I can click execute. And when I do that, let's see if this other one came through. It'll send me updated alerts throughout the entire prompt. There we go, stop. So if I go here, start it, execute, and now if I go back to EC2 and refresh this, it's pending. See, the two systems have talked to one another, and that will update. And the other cool thing you're going to get is on the actual alert, the original stopped one, the activity log is going to update. So it says I successfully submitted to execute that ID. So you get kind of that paper trail along the way as well. So that is the basics of a very cool new feature. I know there's more integrations coming with things like Ansible in different systems. And like I said, the REST endpoint is whatever you can code and whatever you can build, there's probably a way to do it, and our team can help you do that. Okay, so that's the quick overview on Opsgenie actions. Now I'm going to switch roles here. I'm actually going to log out of this account, and I want to talk about incident timeline, and that is in my other account. So let me just log in here. Hopefully that's my password. All right, so the incident timeline. So like we were talking about at the top and Kate mentioned, incidents are growing in importance, and customers demand to know what's happening at all times, and really all the teams, they're complex issues when an incident happens. And the incident timeline is that view of the truth, kind of a historical ledger of everything that's happening from the moment of an incident is created. So if we go to our incident tab, anytime an incident is created, the moment it's created, whether it's manually created through alerts being grouped or turned escalated, or you've got some rules and templates set up that are creating incidents for you. Let's take a look at one here. Here's an example of an API outage. That's not good news. That's an incident. We need to respond to that one quickly. So the incident timeline lives in the right-hand side of the screen. It's very simple. It's a collapsible panel that you can kind of move in and out of the way as you see fit. Let's move this down here. You can add manual entries on it. That's not a very good one, but you get the idea. It'll update with your name. You can add notes in there. You can also filter on 7 different categories of information: user entries, stakeholder updates, alerts, ICC session activity. So basically anything you want to see related to this incident, and especially as incidents, complex things that take days or hours. There's a lot of data that happens, and you want to be able to go back in time and see what happened. All that data is captured there for you, which is really nice. Additionally, associated alerts, responder alerts, and stakeholders are all displayed on the incident main screen. So if I take action, if I act or close or assign an alert here, those alert details show up here on the timeline. There's an example right there. So I know who responded at what time, and I can dig in further if I need to. There's a couple other cool things where this lives as well. So the first one being in the Opsgenie Incident Command Center. Not sure how many of you guys are taking advantage of the Incident Command Center yet, but it's a really nice feature. Just as the name says, being able to group all the right people in the room when an incident occurs. And this incident timeline carries right over to that, and I can show that to you. Let's see if this works live. So if I click on this Opsgenie hosted bridge, this should open the ICC for me. There you go, you see my smiling face on the webinar. And now you see my neck. All right, let's turn that off. All right, so this is the ICC view. If it's new to you, there's a chat over here. And again, look, you've got stakeholder updates as things are happening, and you've got the timeline. I can add an entry, and I can also filter to only see the key information that's needed for me. Back in Opsgenie, there's also this status page opportunity. So often you're going to want to internally update stakeholders and key people about what's going on with your outage. And for this outage that we have here, if I come in here, I've got 3 details: incident detail, hide updates, and send update. So I can send a message to all those key stakeholders, and this is a page that they can check on their own time so they can get a fresh view of how we're progressing on the incident, which teams are involved, and making sure that we're on it and we're covering any issues that are popping up. On it, fixes in the works. I don't think you need a description. You can add one. And then if I go back to my timeline, I'll see all those updates and all that information appearing in relatively real time. This thing updates in fairly quickly. Okay, so those are the basics of the incident timeline. Again, an enterprise feature. If you want to play around with it, you can reach out to customer success, and they'll be more than happy to help you get it turned on. Let's see. And let's see. Yeah, there's a bunch of questions that have popped up. So we can go through a lot of these better or later on. But right now, let's go back. Kate, I'm going to send it back to you, and we can finish up with postmortems. Oh, actually, sorry. Before I do that, I just reminded myself. I don't think I showed postmortems. The timeline also lives in the postmortem. I almost forgot that. Let's look at that before I give you control, Kate.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. So if you come into the postmortems, which Kate's going to talk a little bit more about, the timeline, same deal. The timeline lives in the postmortem. So when that postmortem report is generated, you've got a nice historical view of everything that happens. Your teams can kind of sit around there, and as they understand what happened, they can look at the timeline to see who was involved and what happened and what took place. Great. Okay. Okay. All right, Kate, I'll give it back to you, and we can go from there.
Okay, sounds good. And for those of you asking questions, don't worry, we will get to those. We're not ignoring them. We just want to make sure we can devote enough time to answering them. Okay, great. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
So postmortems are part of the incident management feature set. Again, that is included in our enterprise plan. All of our incident management features, postmortem, incident timeline, etc., are in our enterprise plan. So in order to start a postmortem, after an incident, go to the Incidents tab from the left-hand menu. And let's go to All. So here's an incident that's passed. It's already happened. Just click into that. And then you see these various tabs up here that you can click into. You can see the responder alerts that are associated, the regular associated alerts, stakeholders, and then click into postmortems. One has not been created yet, so then you create it. It's just going to take a second to load. The internet's a little slow today. And so here, what's great about this is that the template captures the key points for you, so that way you can determine the impact, actions taken, the root cause, etc. And you also have the incident timeline here on the right-hand side that captures that information as well. As Sean showed you earlier, you can add entries to it if necessary, and you can also filter those events, if you will. So what the purpose of this is that it's easily living within the tool that you're using during the incident. So it makes it simpler to have this template here that you can just simply fill out. We're working to make sure that you can easily link JIRA issues directly from the template. That way you can, in peacetime, keep track of everything that's supposed to be fixing it, etc., and determine what everyone's working on. There are also attachments to it as well. So when you click into it, you have that post-incident analysis report. So the purpose of our postmortem is to provide you with all of the available information about the incident and about the associated alerts, as well as all of the actions taken during that incident. So that way you can determine the root cause, determine what was done incorrectly, what could have been done better, etc. So you, just like a typical incident template, a postmortem template rather, you have the ability to add the executive summary for the incident, the lead up, the fault detection, root causes. 5 whys is a very common application, as many of you probably know if you've done postmortems before. The mitigation and resolution, and then also the lessons learned. What's gone well, what could have gone better, what else did you learn? And so all of that is recorded in here. And that pretty much covers it. You have these details as well. It's all very high level. The duration of the incident, the teams that were responding, the incident responders. So this is all here for you in order to reflect on the incident and determine what went well, what did not go well. We do encourage you to try these features out and see them for yourself. But that pretty much covers the postmortem. It's pretty straightforward. So why don't we see about those questions that we have? That's wrapping up the demo aspect of today's webinar.
Thanks, Kate. That sounds good. And just to clarify one last time, a couple people had asked about who can view the postmortems. The user does require that enterprise license.
Yes, and if you are just a stakeholder or a user, you will not have access to these items. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Depends on your role within Opsgenie too.
Right, and I would say also, but now is a good time to reach out because these features are new and we want to get people using them. So now is a good time to reach out to your rep or customer success to say that you want to use it and bang on a little bit and see if we can get you access. So a bunch of questions have come in. So we'll try to triage and go through a bunch of these. There's probably way more that we can get to. And if anything gets super technical or detailed, we'll take those offline and ensure if anyone asks a question, we're going to get back to you. So don't worry about that. There's a question about timeline. Can you modify the time of an entry in timeline? So it'd be useful if you jotted a note somewhere during an incident or the event happened at a time that you're not typing the update. That's a great point. As of right now, no. This is kind of the V1 of that feature and that benefit, but that's something that we can definitely take into account and pass to the product team. That's one of the reasons we do this webinar too, to get the kind of feedback going from customers and prospects. So thanks for that, and I'll take a note of it. Let's see. What else we can answer? Would the AWS integration not be a replacement for Sensio? Possibly, or I would need to know more about your scenario, Simon. So that's another question we'll take offline and we'll dig into. Mark Green, you're asking about documentation, or is there documents on how to best configure the trifecta, if you will, of Atlassian Jira service status page? There is. We've got a couple different things on that. We've got some written content that we can send in the notes with the webinar for everyone. And we also I think we did a couple webinars about integrating Opsgenie with Atlassian, with Jira, Surface Desk, etc. So we'll make sure you get that as a follow-up. Let's see what else we have here.
I love all the questions. It's great to have such an interactive group.
Yes, I'm rapidly scrolling through them.
While you're looking through those, I'm just going to mention that the Atlassian community, the Opsgenie collection, is a good place to post your questions and thoughts as well. We have a special Opsgenie section, and we often speak about newer features, new releases, and this is where we put our release notes, etc. for Opsgenie. So postmortems are in here, as you can see. So I do suggest that we would love to see you in there adding your thoughts and your questions, and that helps us to make sure that we're generating content that helps answer common questions that you have.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. Get in the community. It's really growing. And there's a few questions just about general access to an Opsgenie subscription be included as part of the Atlassian account. I think that's a perfect question to ask on the sales side, or reach out to customer success, and they can dive into the details of getting access to both those accounts if you're a Jira customer or a Jira Service Desk customer, or vice versa. Interactions in Slack. A couple other people asking about a lot of questions about timeline, actually, which is great to see, and different tools and tips and things. Being able to pull from Slack right into timeline, love that one. That's, if not on the roadmap, we'll make sure it's on the backlog, and we'll get it escalated up to the product team after the webinar. Thanks for the feedback. Let's see what else. I'll take a couple more here, and then we will wrap up, and then we'll make sure anything that's not answered, we'll take it offline. Kate, do you know if this is a good one? This might potentially stump us, but I'm just going to go for it. Status page, status page can have an Opsgenie alert, but can an Opsgenie alert or incident modify a status page entry?
So yeah, actually that's so funny. I just talked about this yesterday. You can. There are specific instructions. Let me in the docs and to pull that up. Opsgenie.com. So you need to have a component and a tag that matches that component in order to actually modify the status page component. So if you go to, let me just pull up integrations, status page. course, my internet's going to be slow. But here, you have the option down here, changing component incident statuses via alert tags. So this is just within our documentation. If you create an alert tag and then make sure that that reflects the component, Opsgenie will be able to update the status that way.
Great. And then there's just one question about integration with Jira on-prem and Jira Cloud. The answer is both. Yes, we integrate with both. There's good documentation right within the documentation section that Kate's on right now there on docs.opsgenie.com. And we will send you, I believe we also did a webinar on this in the past. We'll send you some information about those integrations as well, so everyone understands how those tools work together in more detail as well. Okay, good. So this is good. We've been online for about 40 minutes now. We'll wrap up now. Let me take control back, Kate.
Okay, let me stop showing.
And I'll just grab it. And we can talk about next steps, a couple other things.
Sounds good. Great questions. This group was great for questions.
Yes, this has been good. We got some good product feedback too, which is what we really need. So resources are coming soon. So we'll add to this because a lot of questions have come in about different integrations and different tools and how they work with Opsgenie and the different Atlassian tools. So we'll make sure you guys have all that. But external services, documentation, there's an API demo. I think that's actually in the wrong, that API demo actually goes with actions. That's where we talk about how to use the REST endpoint, timeline documentation, and also a quick plug for some of the coming soon integrations. MS Teams app is going to be in the marketplace of Microsoft soon, I think in the next week. Same thing with Zendesk. We have an app we're upgrading from the Zendesk integration that we have currently. And also for the Instant Command Center that we looked at briefly, you're going to be able to integrate it if you're a Zoom customer. If you're using Zoom and you want to use that as your native integration for the video portion of the chat, you're going to be able to do that really soon. So that's great too. And then last thing I want to do is just kind of get a little bit more interactive feedback from you guys. Love to see, if I launch this poll on the screen, which of the features, and I think you can vote as many times as you like, which of these are of interest to you at a high level. Of course, we've only barely grazed the surface on all 4 of them, but would love to know which of these if you're interested in, and we can make sure that we're following up with the proper teams and the proper people to get you what you need. Okay, great. Looks like pretty full split. Everybody wants everything, so that's good. All right, thanks for voting. Cool, so that's that. And let's see if we had anything else that we wanted to talk about. I think that is it for now. Thank you for joining the webinar. We're going to be doing this kind of what's new in the product at least once a quarter going forward, Kate and I, and we'll have other special guests joining us. So stay tuned for more emails and things on the website, and definitely jump into the community like Kate mentioned. It's the best place to get feedback from your peers and from us, and also contact customer success if you want to dive into these features. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for coming.